But originally, chat, I was not talking about that today. Because that just dropped literally right before we popped live. So if y'all didn't know about it, if you don't know, now you know. It's kind of get a chance to break some news. I think that's one of the things I like about doing these daytime things, man. Might be after something to do as far as for our recordings here in the future. But I feel like I have a little bit more energy doing like the 10 p.m. when we normally do our streaming on the days that we actually get to do some gaming streams. So maybe look forward to us doing that in the future as well. But let's do this tier list real quick. VCT Americas. I tried looking around for a few to do more like your traditional, you know, S through D tier. Most of the lists that were current had it this way. And I figured, you know what? Let's see how close we could get it. I don't know, chat. Do we start off like with our top pick? Like, do we start in the #1 seed, or do we start from the bottom? Do we do like for serious in the bottom? Because like I think we would all love to see EG finish 11th, right? Like after everything that happened. But I unfortunately don't think that's going to be the case. I think if we are going to be doing this in all seriousness, kind of talk about some of the off-season changes. I feel like I know enough about MIBR's changes that they've made. I feel like it's mostly the same roster that really didn't perform at all last year, which is unfortunate for MIBR. I think they're going to be beaters this year. I wouldn't be playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they win a game. Yeah, I think MIBR ends up finishing in the 11th spot. 9th, 10th. Go on a run. I do think we would have, do we have Crew? Unless Crew goes on a crazy run. Do we think they finished 9th or 10th, chat? So I do feel like this is probably our 9-10 here. Even though they still have Jogamo, and if we're doing ascending, so that means that this would be 9, 10, 11. I think EG probably in the 9th spot. I mean, the EG squad's like what? Tier 2 players and like the 100 Thieves reject squad. I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised to see even EG down in 11th, but I do think you would have this order: MIBR in 11th, Crew in 10th, EG in 9th. I think in the 8th spot, probably looking at Furia. Furia, they picked up Havoc from Union. They did lose QCK. I feel like Furia is still in the 8th spot, though. I don't think I've seen enough otherwise to expect them to really ascend. Remember, Furia had that weird run at the start of the regular season last year in the Americas, but then they just absolutely fell on their face. It felt like QCK was their only performer. As much as I liked what I saw from Havoc in Challengers, like we all know what we know the skill diff, right? I think probably take some time to adjust. I think 8th is probably where we're looking for them. And I'm sorry, South America, LATAM, like it ain't me hating, dog. But 3 of the 4 teams in the bottom are going to be South American, Latin American. It's the rules, not the rules, but it's the way that it's the truth, and the truth sometimes hurts. I'm sorry. I do think 100 Thieves probably finishes in 7th. I think we're in the middle of the pack where this is going to be where, you know, probably 4 through 7 could be quite interchangeable. 5 through 7, maybe. We'll have to see how we go. But I do think 100 Thieves, if they have a very good start to their season, they get some confidence going, maybe that's when we see them make a run up into like the 4th position, right? But I feel like they've kind of gotten used to just being in the league. They're there. That's it. You know what I mean? I think they finished 7th. Maybe they catch a hot streak and get A-LAN, but I don't think they're a team that we see a whole lot of consistency from. I think even as far as we talk about consistency, I think G2 is going to take a little bit of time getting used to the consistent high level of play, even from teams like MIBR, Crew, EG, teams that we said are going to be feeders this year, right? Even though they picked up Leaf, and I know Leaf had a really good year last year, I think they finished in 6th. And I think the reason for that is you'll see some of these teams that are left down here. I don't think they are of that caliber. You know, they aren't of the caliber of Sentinel, Cloud9, Leviatan, Loud, NRG. I think they're just outside of that. Could they maybe build to that through Split 2? Maybe. But I think when we're talking about right now, going in from the preseason, getting ready to start the season off, I think G2 sitting firmly in that 6th position, middle of the road, stuck between two sides, committed to doing wrong and doing what's right. No, I do think that's just a really good spot for them. Because I do think that Cloud9 would probably be where I start with these final 5. Cloud9's looked really solid. I feel like with their changes, but Leaf's kind of a little bit of a fall off. So I think with losing Leaf, even though they went, what was it, 8-1, 9-1, whatever it was last year during regular season, I do think we see them fall off a little bit in Americas. Also, because we've had some of these other teams kind of jump up ahead of them, right? So I think having them sitting just outside the top 4. Cloud9, though, another one of those teams, if they have a really good start and get some confidence and start feeling themselves, man, like, don't be surprised to see them 3rd, 2nd place. Like, honestly, 5th through 2nd, 3rd. I mean, honestly, 5th through the top could be really interchangeable based off of momentum and things like that. We know how quickly the wheels can come off of teams, and we know how hard it can be to stop, you know, buses once they get rolling. They'll just start crushing over everything. So I do think Cloud9 in 5th is probably best way to go. I know I teased earlier about Sentinels in 1st. I do think Sentinels probably finishes 4th. Just because I do think Leviatan and Loud have better rosters. I think NRG, obviously, their ceiling is incredibly high. It just seems like they, you know, that's the Monstars down there in NRG. Could potentially be. We also know sometimes you put all the best players together and it doesn't always work out. So I don't know though. As far as for Sentinels, I mean, they got Zelsis from C9. Was one of the changes for the Cloud9 that we were talking about, kind of their fall off, right? They also got John QT from M80. And John QT's kind of been fitting in pretty decent with the squad. I know everyone always loves to hype up the Sentinels when it comes to VCT. They're a fan base that's very easily hyped. And people buy their hype of Sentinel very quickly. I think maybe they still potentially qualify for like A-LAN. But I don't think they are a team that we see consistently dominating week after week. I think even if they finish in at 4th, it's going to be one of those things where like 4th through 7th, it's going to be super tight, like a difference of 2 games between the 4. And Sentinels comes out on top through some like tiebreaker or something, right? But that brings us to our top 3 chat in VCT Americas. And y'all can see down there, only one NA team. I think I've already kind of given away a little bit where I'm going to end up putting them. I think the question between these last couple of teams, all of them have had some big roster moves. NRG's picked up some studs. Leviatan's picked up some studs, right? But Loud, they lost Aspas, and their only pickup was QCK, which was from Furia. I'm pretty sure. I think it's the rest of the same port, right? So the question becomes, do we take the team that's going to have the consistency and the chemistry, the team that realistically was probably the best, or that realistically was the best squad in Americas last year? Do we think that Sadak can keep that going at the top and put Loud up there? Do we think that Aspas was that big of a player that he goes out and they're all of a sudden down to 3, or is it somewhere in between the two? I think personally, I think Loud would probably end up in the 3 spot. And I think the reason for that is despite some of the rumors of some of the drama in Leviatan, I really like how this Leviatan team's coming together. You got Aspas. You got Tex, who has that winning mentality coming up from challengers where they were just putting whoopings on everybody. You've got Calm, who knows what it takes to lift a trophy. I think Leviatan even could finish in the 1st spot. I wouldn't be surprised. But I think when we talk about ceilings and potential, with knowing all of these players that NRG picked up, Demon 1, Ethan, Marved, I think as far as for now, that would be the way that we'd have to look at it. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to tear me up down in those comments. It's down there, especially on YouTube. I know Moon not too happy. The homie Moon not going to be too happy seeing Cloud9 down there in 5. I think he isn't quite as hyped on Leviathan as I am. I think that's a pretty solid list for our 11 here for VCT's Americas. Hate it, love it, chew it, savor it. It is what it is. But let me know if you like these tier listings, have being part of our podcast. I think that was relatively easy. I think if we do a podcast, you know, a tier list here and there between our couple of topics that we're talking about, I think I'm okay with that. You know, sounds pretty cool to me. You know, maybe we'll do like EMEA next week or something. Could be fun. But let me know in the comments. Let me know over on Discord. But you know what? We're creeping up on that 50-minute, close to an hour mark. I wanted this to be a podcast that doesn't expand too long past that hour mark, except for maybe on the really busy weekends. Now I'm starting to think about it, man. When we get to